Hi everyone. Okay, so today I'm going to do a video on something that I deal with on a daily basis. um, and it's not bird related. I know I'm really slacking on my bird videos lately. Um, so I apologize. But today I'm going to do a little video on, um, like I said, a topic I deal with every single day, and that is trying to get my very, very picky dog to eat. Now, there are so many different things you'll read online about picky dogs and how most of the time, and it's true, most of the time it's the owner's fault. I see a lot of little dogs that, oh, well, she's picky and she doesn't like to eat and she won't touch this and she won't touch that, and you see them scrambling around the dish and throwing it around or pretending it's a cookie or whatever, and that's over the top. If your dog is not underweight and decides not to eat, don't worry about it. If your dog doesn't have a medical condition like diabetes where he has to eat on a very regular schedule, don't worry about it. Just let your dog be, and they'll figure it out. They will eat when they are hungry. But there are some dogs that aren't like that, and my Saint Bernard is one of them. Most bigger dogs eat no problem at all. Um, since we got Bella, we have been fighting tooth and nail to get her to eat on a regular basis. Um, I've combed the internet. I've picked the brains of many a vet tech, my teachers. I've talked to thousands of different rescue organizations and other pet owners who have had the same issue, and I've tried every single one of their suggestions with absolutely no regular success at all. So, I figured, you know what? I'm sure there's people out there who have the same problem I do, and I wanted people to understand you're not the only one, and when you should be concerned and when you shouldn't be concerned. So, if your dog has a regular, healthy appetite, and um, let's say today he decides that he's not going to eat his rations, his morning rations. So, let's say your dog gets a cup in the morning and a cup at night, and he only eats half of a cup. Okay, a little fishy, so you pick the food bowl up, and then tonight he eats his whole cup. Okay, maybe he just wasn't feeling it this morning. So this goes on for 2 or 3 days where he only eats half of his meal, and then he gets over it, he's fine. There's no lethargy, there's no vomiting, diarrhea, lack of, enthusiasm. He still plays, goes out for walks, blah, blah, blah. That's okay. That's okay. Some dogs, just like people, maybe they're just not hungry. There's nothing wrong with that. Another thing I see a lot of people do, and this one's a little bit more obvious to people on the outside, um, is if your dog is overweight, prime example, a pug that I groomed yesterday, morbidly obese pug, like almost 40 pounds. Dogs and cats, man, dogs and cats. This dog is a walking bowling ball, like just awful, awful size. And the owner was saying, oh, he doesn't eat all of his food. Well, when you have a pug who should only be eating about a cup of food a day, and you're now upping him to, um, you're giving him 2 cups of food a day. Well, of course he's not going to eat 2 cups of food a day. That would be like you going out and eating, an entire cow. You can't do it. You physically can't do it. And that's something that I see a lot of people do, is they assume that their dog can eat 2 cups and they can't. So they think that their dog is sick because it's not eating 2 cups, so they put gravy and other stuff on it so that the dog eats it, and then the dog becomes morbidly obese, and it's just a vicious cycle. So if your dog is overweight and doesn't eat, again, so long as it's not, like, doesn't eat anything for 3 days, don't worry about it. And like I said, so long as they're acting normal, no vomiting, diarrhea, anything like that. So when should you be concerned? Like I said, if your dog looks sick, um, vomiting, diarrhea, lethargy, lack of interest, won't eat cookies, won't eat bacon, won't eat anything like that, and is typically a good eater, you might have some issues. I suggest bringing your dog to the vet. Have a good once-over done, because there could be something medically wrong, chemically wrong, intestinally wrong that is prohibiting your dog from eating. So, if all of these things are not true for your dog, so your dog is healthy, your dog doesn't normally eat, and you're having a problem getting your dog to eat, which is where we stand with Bella. She's underweight. She has been underweight for ever. And by underweight, I mean you look at her and you can see her ribs, you can see her hip bones, her spine, and it's not a case of her not having access to food. We feed Bella several times a day, as much as she'd like to eat, and she just does not. A good trick that I saw on a web page for they called it the picky eater test. If your dog decides, goes up to his bowl and says, "Okay, I don't want to eat," and you open up a package of hot dogs and go to give the dog a hot dog, and it eats it, it's not a case of your dog is sick. It's a case of your dog not liking the food that it has. So, if your dog is not an underweight, sick dog, and it decides it doesn't want to eat today, don't lose sleep over it. With Bella's case, the problem is that she does not eat an appropriate amount every single day, so it's very hard for us to encourage her to eat. So I'm going to cut to the chase eventually and put together some of the tips and tricks that I've come up with that we've used with Bella that have worked over the years. So the first suggestion is to change forms as often as you can. So this morning, Bella had, she usually gets kibble in the morning and wet food at night. We are actually working on getting her a raw food diet. I live very, very far north, and it's very hard to get a hold of stuff like that. But we have found a butcher who might be able to figure something out for us. So switch forms and see if your dog prefers one form over another before anybody says anything about wet food not being good for your dog's teeth. Don't even go there. It's not going to make a difference. Go see my other videos. Go talk to a vet, and they will tell you the same thing. If you want your dog to have nice teeth, brush them. So change forms. Your dog might be more enticed to eat if it's a different form, but might get bored of just one form every single time. Now, some dogs, if you switch them from dry to wet, problem solved. They don't have an issue for the rest of their lives. They're happy, content, healthy dogs, and they just prefer wet food, which is not a bad thing as far as food goes. Another thing that we found that works really well is that we don't feed Bella just one type of food, like one brand, and even within brands, a particular flavor. We buy 5 or 6 bags of food at a time, and we rotate flavors every single day. So this morning, although it's not my favorite, she doesn't actually mind puppy chow. It's one of the very few lower quality foods that she eats regularly. So this morning she had puppy chow. Yesterday she had wellness. The day before that she had from. The day before that she had blue puppy. So we switch a lot. The same thing with her wet food. We've got wellness puppy, wellness core. Actually, I think most of the ones we have right now are wellness. We buy them by the case. She's a St. Bernard, so she's not like we can do, 2 or 3 cans. Like, we buy them by the case. So we've got, they're sitting right behind me. Core, duck and potato, a different flavor of core, core puppy, the regular puppy. I want to say venison, but I'm not sure. There's 7 different cases that we bought. And then even if you go with raw, feed them duck today, and then rabbit tomorrow, and salmon the next day. If you keep things different, then they're going to be more enticed to eat. Now, this rule kind of goes with every dog, in my opinion, but especially for those who are picky. Walk, then eat, because what that's going to do is it's going to make them hungry, and then you're going to come in, and then because there's you know, food, they're going to be like, okay, I'm hungry, so they're going to eat. And then what you want to do is you want to have your dog relax for about an hour and a half, so that they have time to digest. So you don't want them burning those calories off, not to mention the whole bloat thing. It's just the safest way to do it. With the food dish itself, we went through about 5 different food dishes before we found one that Bella did not mind. She does not like anything shiny, and she does not like anything with faces on it. I've seen this before. We had a cat who wouldn't drink out of a water dish because there was a face on the bottom of it. He would eat out of it, but he wouldn't drink out of it. So if you notice that your dog, let's say your dog is eating out of a little bowl, and, you know, okay, he's not really into it, try using a really, really big one, or vice versa. Try using one that's really, really deep or really, really shallow. I find cats prefer food dishes that are shallow, but water dishes that are deep. Most cats don't like their tongue hitting the bottom of the dish. That's why a lot of cats that are watered with those little ceramic dishes will drink out of your mugs. It's because there's not enough water in them. Running water is also a good thing for cats. But anyway, not the point. Try changing the food dish. Try changing the location. If you normally feed your dog in the basement, try feeding them in the kitchen or in the living room. And as far as feeding them in the kitchen, so long as they understand that you are inviting them into the kitchen to eat, you're not going to have issues with the dog begging at the table. Our dogs aren't allowed in the kitchen while we eat, and Bella actually sits right here when we feed her, but she knows that she has to wait her turn. So that's something that we found has helped a lot. Actually, this was a friend of mine. My cat just walked by and it reminded me. If your dog, if you have cats, or so long as your dog is not food aggressive, don't do this if your dog is food aggressive. Most dogs that are picky aren't, but just saying, don't do this if you have a food aggressive dog. Bella, if she doesn't want to eat and we pick up a cat and put it towards her food dish, she'll eat it. To a certain extent, eventually she will stop. If a dog walks up to her, she doesn't care, she'll walk away. But if a cat does, she will continue eating because the cat might eat it. So that's you know, a little trick that you can try. See what the reaction is. I don't suggest putting cookies in the food dish because most of them are smart enough just to nose the other stuff away and then eat it, unless you can put like bacon grease or something that will actually stick to the kibble. The only thing I'm going to warn you about bacon grease or anything like that, if you're putting it on dry kibble, make sure your dog chews, or at least slows down. Bella has a habit of just swallowing it down, and then it hits the bottom, and then just comes back up. So make sure they take their time. My last suggestion, if you have a picky dog and you are worried about their weight and you need to make sure that they are getting enough calories, overfill your dishes. Never, like, let's say most mornings Bella will eat at least 2 cups of food, sometimes 3, but I always put 4 cups in the dish because on the slight off chance that she might have a little bit more than 3, it's already in the dish. Same thing with the wet food. She will normally eat 2 cans of wet food. I will always put an extra can in the dish, just in case she decides that she wants to eat it. Because it's a heck of a lot easier for your dog to keep eating than for you to stop and then have to put another one, because by that time, most of them have lost interest. So that's my little thing. If you have any questions, let me know. I will try my best to help you. For those of you who have picky dogs, hang in there. If you have any tips, feel free to plop them down. And like I said, if you have any questions or comments or concerns or things that you've tried, plop them down and add them to the list so that other people who are visiting the video can benefit. So, see you later, y'all. Have a good night.